Hello, and welcome back to Red Alert Alternative Director's Cut with me, Dr. J. For this episode, we are going to look at Allies 17, the penultimate mission of the Allied campaign, which is loosely inspired by Under Siege, the Covert Operations Nod mission, where your base is penned in by GDI forces on all sides, and they are quote unquote sending in airstrikes to finish you off. The mod has a number of missions that are based off covert ops missions, and those always have the title Redux in them. Sometimes they follow their covert ops inspiration very closely to the extent that they're almost clones. And in other cases, they're just kind of loosely inspired. This is one of the latter, where this mission is just sort of loosely inspired by the covert ops one. Now, the only change that I have made to this mission from the version that Artega played is I disabled the Chrono Vortex, the anomaly that appears and shoots out lightning and blows things up, and it appears randomly when you use the Chronosphere. I honestly didn't think that could happen in single player, but turns out that it can. I had never seen it happen in single player, only multiplayer, until Artega's playthrough, because Artega has some kind of preternatural gift for finding bugs and causing abnormal conditions to occur. So I disabled it. The disabling appears to have worked, and the appearance of that chronovortex was disruptive enough that I think not seeing it at all will make for a bit of a smoother playthrough of this mission. And Artega was fairly confused about how the chronosphere works when he did this mission. He had forgotten, for example, that units that are chrono shifted revert to their original location after a period of time. And I think some of the, how would you say, flow or intent of the mission got a little bit muddied by Artega's confusion, none of which I intend as a criticism of Artega, by the way. His LP of the mod is brilliant. But I think that just doing my own playthrough of this mission without that mistake and without confusion about the Chronosphere's functionality might be interesting to see. So that's why I've decided to do this one next. Okay, so there's a nuke coming, which means I want to get Tanya out of there. And I'm going to want to sell my buildings. And I should have started building power before I sold all that stuff, because due to one of countless red alert bugs, the build time of things is not dynamically adjusted as they're building based on your power status. The build time of something is only determined when you first start building it based on your power status, which means if you're about to sell a bunch of power plants and go into low power for whatever reason, like I just did to avoid them getting nuked, that you want to start building a replacement power plant before you do all that selling, because it'll build at normal speed. And I failed to do that, so that was a little bit of a mistake. Now, the mission will end if Tanya dies, so I'm going to get her out of there. And I'm going to start building a stealth tank so that I can explore and begin getting some of the money that's scattered all around the map, because that's going to be pretty important to get up and running. I really don't want... I shouldn't have sent this medic in. This medic should be attending to Tanya. So you're on a tight... Well, I say tight. It's not that tight, but you're on a time limit for this mission. If you don't complete it within an hour, then your base will get nuked and it's pretty much game over. And after a certain period of time, or after you trigger certain other conditions, the enemy launches a big assault on your position. And you need to be ready when that happens so that you don't get overwhelmed and defeated. And aside from that, the gimmick of this level is that the enemy's base is so strongly defended, and the resources at your disposal are so limited, plus the time limit breathing down your neck, that you don't really have any hope of defeating the enemy base if you just attempt a frontal assault. So what you need to do, and maybe there's alternative ways to complete the mission, but if there are, I haven't really discovered them. So the intended way is to use a stealth tank to scout out the enemy's position. And you need to locate their power plants. And then chrono shift some units to their power plants and wipe them out. And that will disable the enemy's defenses, enabling you to defeat them despite the time limit and the limited resources at your disposal. It's intended to be a relatively tricky mission to figure out what to do, because it is the penultimate mission of the Allied campaign. So it's not meant to be incredibly easy to figure out how to clear it.
Construction complete.
And as I mentioned previously, I liked creating missions where you had to think about the solution and come up with unorthodox ways to win instead of just constantly building giant tank armies and using tank rushes, which is the way to win the vast majority of missions of base building missions in the official campaign. I'm going to create a little more room for myself by selling some of these unnecessary walls. I don't need these walls at all. You can get a little bit of extra money by selling the walls as well, which can be useful. So in preparation for the enemy's large attack, which is going to be coming sooner or later, where they send all these forces in to destroy you, I'm going to build advanced guard towers and some turrets. I'm going to start building a flame tank in preparation for chrono shifting it to wipe out their power plants, because flame tanks do insane damage to structures, so it's probably the most efficient thing that you can shift to begin wiping out their power plants. Now, Artega, I think, believed that moving a stealth unit next to any enemy unit would reveal it, but in fact that's actually only infantry. So you can move next to vehicles and you'll be fine. In some base defenses, guard towers and camo pillboxes reveal stealth units, but other structures do not. So that's useful to know where it's safe to drive your stealth tank and where it isn't. And I guess I'll make one more flame tank to expedite destruction of enemy structures. Okay. I think that was the last of the outer supply trucks. Though there might have been another one. I don't remember for 100% certain. Where do I want this one? Maybe... a little awkward. Let's try putting it here, I guess. Put down some walls. Now I'm going to start building light tanks for the assault I'm going to make once the enemy's defenses are powered down. Where's my stealth tank? That's not him. Where did I put my stealth tank? There he is. His stealth is too good. I can't make him out. Alright, I'm going to put him on control group 1 so that doesn't happen again. And continue building the tank army, putting down walls to help defend. The enemy base will begin producing attacks once various conditions are met, but the enemy does have to abide by the restrictions of power. They don't cheat in that regard. So once you've put them into super low power, even though they're trying to produce units, their production speed is so slow that it's completely crippled. Those air attacks are why you don't want to just sell off your SAM sites in this mission. One more wall to make it nice and blocked off. Okay, good. Now I'm going to build some turrets to assist with the defense. Alright, and this gap here is where you need to go in order to reveal the plateau where the enemy's power plant cluster is located. And Zhukov thought he was being clever by putting all these power plants up on this otherwise inaccessible plateau and surrounding it with SAM sites. But, fool that he was, he forgot about the existence of the chronosphere, or maybe just didn't realize we had captured that technology. Didn't realize we'd be able to reveal this with a stealth tank and then chrono shift units up to blow his power plant center to smithereens. So his attempt at protecting his power was a failure. And of course, because the mission is designed to be beatable, I obviously designed it so that once the player figures out that this is the gimmick to win, okay, I think it was my destruction of the power plants has triggered the enemy assault. So I'm going to need to pay attention to this. Their SSM launchers are going to be a bit of a pain because they will take out my base defenses from out of range. Okay, I may lose all my harvesters to this huge enemy assault. Commentary is going to take a back seat while I hold off this attack. I'm not doing a great job of holding it off at the moment. Okay, that's another advanced guard tower down. I really need to take out these SSM launchers. They're a real pain. They're the bigger threat here than the mammoths. The mammoths will get wiped out by whatever base defenses you've set up. Okay, I definitely need to start replacing my lost harvesters. Otherwise, I believe I have held off the big assault successfully. That is probably the most mechanically difficult part of this mission, is making sure that you survive the big attack when the enemy sends all of their forces at you. Okay, and now to finish off the enemy's power plants while I continue rebuilding my harvesters. And one of my flame tanks has reverted to its original location. I'll just send it back. The Chronosphere and the Iron Curtain in the original Red Alert in the vanilla version of the game are pretty terrible because they only affect one unit at a time and their charge times are very slow. So I think that they're really quite poor as super weapons. They obviously became a lot better in the sequels because they can teleport or make invulnerable multiple units at a time. Greatly increases their usefulness when you're able to do that. I would not have been able to do that with standard modding techniques. That would require actually hacking on the game executable. So instead, I just made them more useful by drastically reducing their charge time. And, you know, it does work in making them more worthwhile as super weapons, so that's good. And from this point forward, the mission is pretty much by the numbers. Once you have successfully dealt with the gimmick, wiped out the enemy's powers, survived their big attack, then it's just a matter of constructing the forces that you need to overwhelm their defenses, which are now fully powered down. So you only need to worry about the flame towers and the units, and with them in super low power, they're going to be producing reinforcements so slowly that you don't really need to worry about it. There is one more supply truck hidden in the enemy's ore field. There it is. So I'm going to wipe that out and get a little bit more money. And now it's, like I said, just by the numbers. I should probably send this guy to go harvest some more since I went to all the trouble of building him. I'm going to go ahead and sell some more walls to help expedite this. It's tempting to sell my construction yard for the money, because I don't think I really need it at this point. I don't think the enemy is going to be able to launch an attack where I need to replace anything. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Just to speed things up. Enemy drop should get shot down by the SAM site. And it does. Tanya can be extremely useful for her ability to rapidly destroy enemy buildings and easily take out enemy infantry. However, you do lose the mission, if she dies, so it's risky to send her in. And originally, the mission did not end if Tanya died here, because there was a fairly large gap between when I made the Allied part of the campaign and the Soviet part of the campaign. Originally, I wasn't even sure if I was going to make the whole second half, the Soviet half of the campaign. There was a possibility that it was just going to be the Allied campaign, and then it was going to be done. And I think I even originally basically forced Tanya's death on this mission. You know, sort of to be dramatic, oh, this is where Tanya dies kind of thing. But then, obviously, I expanded the mod and the campaign, and Tanya became a character who continued to exist in the second half of the campaign. And that completely contradicted having her die in this mission, or even allowing her to die in this mission. So I updated it and added the trigger where if Tanya dies, the mission's over, because otherwise it would have been confusing storyline-wise if Tanya could get killed in this mission, and the player probably assumes, oh, that's it, Tanya's dead, but then she appears in subsequent missions. That would have been confusing, so I went ahead and added that lose trigger. I did make sure that this mission is perfectly beatable without selling all the wall segments, but just for the sake of speeding up production of the force that I'm going to use to finish off the enemy, I'll go ahead and sell all those, get some extra cash. So the game determines automatically which wall segments are sellable and which ones aren't. That isn't something that you as the level designer determine. I believe it just determines whether you can sell a wall segment based on its proximity to whether they start off next to any of your own buildings. So since these don't start anywhere near my buildings, they're not sellable. And these did start off near my buildings, so the game determines that they are sellable. Pretty sure that's how it works. Which is a very sensible way of determining that. So props to the Westwood programming team for that one. Okay, this is probably more than sufficient as a force to finish off the weakened enemy. I'm going to go ahead and send them in. Once you understand the gimmick of this level, it's not too difficult. As I said, the only sort of mechanically challenging part is the big enemy assault, where they send in all their forces. Once you survive that, it's pretty straightforward. But it's supposed to take a little bit of thinking to realize that you need to build a stealth tank to get through this incredibly well-defended entrance. And then you need to scout out these power plants, which are inaccessible any other way, so then you need to realize you have to chrono shift units up there to wipe out the power plants so that you can actually make it through this otherwise borderline impenetrable base entrance. So really, even though you get a base in this mission, this is essentially a puzzle mission. I'm not bothering to destroy these from out of range, because it would take longer and it's not necessary. If I had a smaller attacking force, I would do that, so as to reduce casualties. Let's overwhelm this mammoth, attack it from all sides. I'm not bothering to control my light tanks and flame tanks separately here. It's not really needed. If the enemy had more forces, I might try to separate them and use the light tanks to take out their armor and the flame tanks to take out their infantry. But my attack is too overwhelming to require that kind of micromanagement. In order to expedite things, the enemy will just sell up once you've destroyed all their production structures in this mission. I had that be the case for a lot of missions to save time, because it can be kind of annoying having to hunt down every last enemy unit and structure. I also made sure that the Tesla coils, which are contained within walls, and the SAM sites, which are in hard-to-access places, I disabled having them spawn units for this mission, so that couldn't be a problem. There is an interesting bug where when Tesla coils are sold and you haven't disabled that they spawn units, if there's a wall directly north of the Tesla coil, the infantry that spawn from it actually gets stuck inside the wall, which is kind of comical, but can also be kind of annoying for the purposes of wrapping up a mission.
Mission accomplished.
Quick and easy. No more chrono vortices. And pretty quick one this time, I think. Oh god, loud cutscene. Oh my goodness, the volume on the cutscenes is out of control. Alright, so I think that was probably a pretty quick episode of what it's like when you don't have a chrono vortex randomly spawning in your base. And when the LPer doesn't completely forget how the chronosphere works and get super confused. Again, Ortega's awesome. I'm not trying to criticize Ortega for that. But, yep, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up here then. See you later.